Hello, welcome. So, in our previous video, we did a testing of this get project originated, and we got this response. We tested for this response, status code 200, which we got, which is here. So, and I did promise that in our next video, we're going to carry out more tests on this. If you look at here now, you see that there are different query parameters, right, that we can use to test. So we are going to do that, So if you look at this place now, we have maximum result. And by default, they have a 50. Let me show it to you. Here, you can see maximum result 50. What this means is the maximum result that maximum result of projects that can be shown per time, right, is 50. But you can, of course, change it to maybe whichever numbers that you want, right? So this is the maximum result. So we have 50. Then we're going to test that. We're going to change it to maybe 2, 4, 20, and see how many results that we're going to get. But then we have a bit of an issue that's going to kind of make us to pause this endpoint for now and test another endpoint. If you look at here, we have just this total is 1. We have one project that we've created while we were creating this our Jira board. We created one, right? Which is this is the one that I created while you are creating it. So this one that is my Scrum project. So if you look at here, you look at the name, you see it here, my Scrum project, right? So currently we have just one. So that's going to kind of affect us in, you know, testing all some of all these parameters because we just have just one project right now. So any result we are going to, we won't be able to test it now. If it's okay to see if this is working, right? Perhaps we have maybe 4 or 5 projects. Okay, give me 2 projects. Let me see if it's working. It's going to give me just 2 projects. And once that is done, we know that yes, this is working. Okay, out of the 5 that I have, give me 5 projects or give me 4 projects, right? And all that. But currently, we just have one project. So anything we do here is only one is just going to be showing, you know. Then we have this parameter order by. This order by, you can order by the key, order by the issue type, order by the name, order by the owner, and all that. So this is the key. Let me show you the key here. This is the key. This key is Chrome, you know. So then by the name, you can also order by this name, by the name, by the ID, and all that. So this is the ID, order by ID. So all this, of course, we're not going to test all of these, but this is just for video sake. If we're able to test 2 or 3, you know, then you should be able to test other ones. So I don't really need to test us to test everything here. But then because we have just one, we are going to pause this endpoint and then go and create more projects. So there's an endpoint here for create, yeah, this is it, to create project. This is the endpoint to create project. So we're going to hit this endpoint to create more project. When we are not done creating more projects, right, then we'll now come back here and continue our work here. So for now, we're going to put this on hold. We've tested this manually and we got this status code, which is key. That is the first test to see that the status code you're supposed to get, you're getting it, right? So we've gotten that perfectly fine. So now we're going to go create a project. Now I will explain what project actually is in Jira. You know, I did say that I don't really want to bore with theories and all that, but then as time goes on, when there's need to talk about a particular feature in Jira, I'll just give you a hint of what it does. By so doing, if you don't know anything about Jira before, you're actually learning and then you could make more research, you know. So this is your project. This is a project that I created, right? And you can, from the interface, you can create more projects through this process. It's very simple. Once you hit here, then now it asks you your project type. You choose Scrum, then you come here and you use this template, right? You choose select the team management. Now you can see that name is required, and then the key, that's the key I showed earlier. Of course, the name of the project, you must have a name of the project. Then the key, you can change the key to anything you want, you know. So and all that. So this is just the process of creating a project. Now the question, I know the question you'll be asking yourself now, if you're not familiar with Jira, is what is project used for? What is actually project in Jira? Now, in project is, you know, a collection of issues. That's just it. Project a collection of issues. Of course, what are issues? We are still going to work on issues later on, right? This is where you create issues. Issue in Jira, we have basically 4 types of issues. We'll talk about your stories, your bugs, your task, and your epic. They are all here, issue type. So you see your story, your task, your bug and epic. So if you want to create an issue, if you want to create an issue in Jira, is this issue you want to create, what is it? Is it a story, or is it a bug that is you find the bug and you want to report it, or is it a task you want to assign to a developer, or is it an epic? So these are just the different type of issues. So you choose the one that it takes here, you know, and all that. So that's the so it's a collection of that issue is actually a project. Now let me explain better. Here, as for projects, let's assume that in a company, the company is large, and then every department, let's say we have front end section, we have a back end section. If you're working in back end, you have no business with front end. Of course, there are so many companies like that where we have this separation of concerns, you know. So if you're working in front end, you have no business with back end. You have no business developing APIs. Yours is just to consume the APIs. If you're working, then you have QA departments, and let's say we have a UI UX. Of course, we have UI UX department, UI US department. So we can just okay, for simplicity's sake, being that this is a large company, you know, with perhaps hundreds or thousands of developers, just only developers alone, we all don't need to use same board, right? So in that case, let's just have different projects. So we could have a project for front end. Now the front end project is, let's just put it, um front end. Now then we have back end, and then we have a QA project. Let's just put project here. And then we have or let's leave UI UX. Let's just go with these three. Then maybe, yeah, some company also have department for payments. They which just in charge of payments. You know, maybe their payment is coming from a third party, um, third parties. So they have different section who actually work on that payment. So let's say we have a payment department too. Now, all of these we can ask, okay, let's have different projects on Nigeria for this. So what that means is that this board is completely independent. It's completely separate from this board. And this one is completely separate from all of them, are just independent on themselves. You know, all the boards are completely different. So if you are in front end, you are going to be working on front end board, except that you are being tagged in any of this, right? Of course, your teammate can tag you. Maybe you are a backend, you've developed an API, and the QA they are testing it, there's a bug or there's something, you can be tagged on their own board that look at this API, this thing is not working. Come and explain, or come and explain. We are not quite okay. Come and explain what is happening here. So you go to their board, give an explanation, or perhaps they raise an issue, and that issue is a bug. You solve it. Once it's done, you move it to test, they test it, right, and all that. So something like that happens. So in such a situation, this is where project becomes handy, right? So what I want us to do is to create more projects. Let's just create this for more projects. You can create as much project as you want, but for the sake of this video, let's create this small project in addition to this one, right? And then we can now use it to carry out our test. So let's go to documentation and see how to create a project. Now this is the documentation. Create a project based on a project type template as shown in the following table, just as you've seen here. But we're not going to use this interface because we are not working with this interface. We want to do it on our Postman using API, on our API and our Postman. So let's do that here. Look at the documentation that is done, that is posted here. And when you look at here, this is the URL that we're going to use. That's the first thing you should look at. So we already have this. Remember, we already have this. So all you just need to do is to pick this. Let's pick this up. So let's go create a new project. Now, for you to create a new project, look at this, your collection. Come to this place, click and add a request. Just look at not on the request, on the collection itself. So you click on these the three dots, click on it, add a request. So here we'll say create Jira project. Yeah. So the first thing is we'll get our base URL, and then we now put add this. Fine. So this base URL, we already dealt with it in our last video. So you now add REST API 3 projects, which is what we have here. Good. So now the next thing is, by doing that already, we should have our heading. Exactly. You can see that our heading is already populated, right? Automatically. Now, if you look at this, look at it. The request is a post. Take note of that. It's a post. So we're going to change this now to post. Because I told you that before, that by default, this is get. So you now have to change it to a post. So we'll change it to post. Perfect. So we can save. Now this has changed to post. And then we'll come back again. So we've taken care of this. We've taken care of the URL. Now the next thing is the data. Now this thing you see here as the data is actually the body, is your JSON body, right? But this is for video, for learning. So we're not actually going to put all of these. I'll just pick some that are necessary for us to actually create a project. Not everything that is required. So I'll just pick some that are required, just few of them that are required, that are necessary, and we're going to look at them together. So this data, where actually do we put this data? We don't need to. Let me show you where you put it. And remember that this is on a JSON format. So what you now do for the body, you come to the body. That data goes into this place, this section, not here, right? It comes to this, click on this place. Then because it's on JSON format, you click on raw. You click on raw. When you see raw, you see this will come up test. It's not a test we want, it's JSON. Look at it. So you just click on it and then select JSON, right? So because what we'll be putting here is going to be a JSON format. So the first thing, if you see when we got to this place to create a project, there are two things you have to understand. We look at the project, create a project. There are things that are demanding of us, name and key. These are key. These are two important things. So let's go and pick these first two things first. Name, we have name here. Look at it, we have name here. So just pick this. I copy. Then of course, for JSON format, you have to open and close your curly braces, right? Then you drop this. So for this name, what do we choose? Let's look at the names we already have. So we have front-end project. So let's put that here. Now you put comma because you want to continue. So the next one is key. Key. Let's just copy with the comma because we are still continuing. So the next one is key. So I'll drop the key here. Now what is this key? The key is kind of combination of the first letters or whatsoever that you can use. You can just put anything that you can use to kind of identify the project. So let's say this is FEP, right? FEPJ. Let's just put that. Good. Now the next one is project type. The project type key. That is what I want us to look at. Project type key. Project type key. Fine. This project type key I will explain. Now is required. Is very, very important. Look at it here. This project type key is a list of this. So they gave us the project type and the key. So we have business, we have service desk, and then we have software. Good. So here we're going to choose. Here they use business, but we are not actually creating ours on business. I will show you what ours is. What's happened? There's no comment here. Good. So let's look at our project type. Projects. Look at it here. Software projects. Here is business. So it said included free with your plan. You can also create a business project type here. But of course, you're not doing that. So look at the project type key here. Is software project. So here we'll be selecting software against against uh, against this business. So we'll put software. Oh, it's capital letter. Should be small letter. Software. Perfect. So now the next thing we're going to look at here is the lead account ID. Now this lead account ID is your ID, because without this, Jira is not going to know who is creating this project. Where am I taking this project, or who are you, right? So this lead account ID is important. This is what actually helps Jira to know that, oh, this is actually the user that is creating this project, and then they'll be able to create that project in your account. So this is very, very important too. So we're going to pick this, and then I'm going to show you how you can get your project ID. So we're going to remove this. This is not a project. This is not an account ID. Now in Jira, how do you actually get your account ID? This is the best way to get your account ID. Come to this place, where your profile is, and then click on profile. Click on profile. This is your account ID. This is your account ID. This is your account ID. But then take note of what is going to happen. Bring it down and paste it on your notepad. Now, when you look at here, usually website do use percent for space and the column and all that, right? So this is actually representing a column. So where you have this percent, right, is not actually percent, is that is the format of URL, right? They don't, if you are putting a space on URL, what you see there in place of that space or column, what you'll be seeing is percent. So we'll change this percent to column. Now this is your ID. Please take note of that. If you leave this percent, it's not going to work. Take note of that. So we're going to move this. So in addition to removing the percent, we actually remove this percent, and then this 3A is not also part of your project ID. So you're going to remove the A, the 3, and the percent, and then you put column. This is where your project ID. This is your project ID. So please do check this on your own. It might be a little bit different from mine, but please do make sure that you remove that percent first and then try it. If you have an error, remove the those two, the letter and the digits, the first two that follow the percent, right? And then it should work just like mine. So we're going to put this. So lead, yeah. And then the next that we'll be looking at is assignee type. The assignee type here. We have the assignee type. Now if you come here, is it down or something? There's a place that it mention about the assignee type. Let's look at the project type available according to the stock Jira. Okay. Yeah, the assignee type. So the request body. Now the assignee type, the valid value for assignee type is either you have project lead or unassigned. So you see here they have project lead. So let's just go ahead with what they have here. Let's copy with this. So we're going to drop it, right? And then we now have this project template key. Very, very important. If you look at here, we have where we have our project to create a project. You see that we have a template key. This is a template. So it's asking you to use this template, right? So we need to select a template. Now the template, the documentation is here. Project template key. So if you are using for business, you choose one of these. If you're using for service desk, you choose one of these. If you're using for software, you choose one of these. Now, our project is on Scrum, so we're going to choose this. This, look at this here, Scrum. So we're going to pick this first. Let's just pick this project and then bring it here. I think that will be the last one that will be picking. So we'll now come here and pick from the documentation. We'll pick this. Remember that we choose software as our project key, our project type key. Then we drop it here. Perfect. So I think everything is fine. The name is front end project. So let's save this. Key is this. Project type key is software. Okay. ID the project. Yes. So if you have this, we can just send and see. Now, if you look at our Jira board, we have just one project. This is it. We have just one project. You can see here. This is the one we created while we're creating this board. So let's hit on our API and see what happens. Bravo, it worked. We've created this project. So if you look at it now, the ID of this project is 1306, 10006, right? Now the key remains exactly what you supplied. So let's go back now to confirm that our project is has been created. Now view all project. Look at it. Front end project is been created. So you see what you can actually do on the front end here on this UI interface. You can still do it with your API, right? So if you click on this now you have the board. Of everyone on this, look at it. This is the key that will show FEPJ board. Everyone on the front end, now this is going to be their board, right? Of course, you can add more board here and all that, you know. So this is just how it works. Now, when you create, now if you look at here now, it's already showing here. So let's just create more, create the other two more, and then here we'll just all this. We're going to leave all this. You just change this to. So the second one is this, the backend. So we'll just choose the backend. Why we change this? This is B project. So let's hit. Fine, it's been created. We have BEPG. Now let's create the third one. This is QA. So this is QA project. And then we hit. Perfect, it's been created. And the last one is payments. So say payments, and here we'll say, so we hit. Perfect. Now we've created all of these. So let's go to our Jira and first of all view our projects. Bravo. Look at all the project we just created. We have the front back end now, we have the front end. This is the one we had before. Now we've created for payment. So you can just, this is the board for back end, right? This is the board for front end. Everything is just working perfectly fine. We've already been used to that board. This is the board for payments. And now this is the board for QA. So you see everything is just here. All we did was just to create them. Look at them. These all the projects. So every department comes to, once they enter their Jira, they go to their board. Except they are tagged in any of these, they don't have business with any of these, with other board apart from theirs, right? So this is actually where projects creating different project becomes handy. You get the point. So now let's go back to look at our get projects. Before you could see total here as one. Now let's hit it again, and you see the difference now. Now remember, let's save this. Let's save this. So remember that we have, okay, this is one. So let's hit now. We now have five, total of five, which is exactly what we have here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you see the beauty of this whole thing. It's not actually difficult. All you just need to is first knowing the right thing, knowing what to do, and be able to actually look at your documentation and be able to read the documentation, right? That is the key as a tester, because the documentation will be made available. Of course, we also have people write documentation. We have some testers too who can write documentation very, very well, right? And it's a key if you have knowledge of writing documentation, because of course, if you can write documentation, it means you should be able to read documentation. You can't write without being able to read. But then as a QA engineer, you should be able to read documentation and understand documentation. So with this, you can see that with this documentation here, I've just been able to create a project successfully without any problem. But if you are not very familiar with documentations and being able to read documentation, you're going to be looking at this thing. You don't even know what to do. You don't know where to start from. So it's a key as a QA that you should learn to understand documentations. So you can see that here now, we've been able to create our project successfully. So now we can now go back to our testing on this endpoint, because now we've gotten 5 different projects. So we should now be able to go to all of these. We should be now be able to, where is the, yeah, this is the first endpoint we worked on. So we should be able to go back to our query parameters and then start our work. Now once we are done with this manually, we'll now automate it. Now after automating it, that is when we'll now go back to creating project. Of course, we've already tested that it's working perfectly. We can create project perfectly fine, but there are other things we still have to test and automate too. But for now, we'll just pause this creation of projects, right? When we get to this place, we're going to start it or test it manually, automate it. But for now, let's go back to where we've been and where we are right now. We are currently on Get Jira project. Thank you very much. So if you follow me to this level, bravo, you've done a wonderful work. In our next video, we're going to start our normal test. Thank you very much and happy testing.